In this video, we will start to learn the time series analysis and forecasting. And so before you learn this module, you should already learn the regression analysis. So here I want to mention the big difference between the time series analysis and the regression analysis. So when we are dealing with the regression analysis, and then we had on the data we are dealing with, most of the time our cross-sectional data. Of course, the time series data also works. We can look at it further towards the later of this module. And then the big difference is that when we look at regression analysis, we need at least two variables, right? One is our dependent variable y, and the other is our independent variable x. So we can have multiple x variables. And we basically are using the information we obtain from the x variable to predict what is the y variable should look like. However, if we have a time series data available, so that is the data had a relation, the value of the data had a relationship with the time, such as the stock price. So each day we are able to see different kind of stock price. So if we collect the past 30 days of Google stock, so the stock price itself is a time series data. So when we look at the time series analysis, why it's so special, because we are able to learn the historical pattern of my time series data, and based on the pattern, we can use to do the forecasting without relying on the second variables. So in this chapter, we are focusing on learning different kind of time series models that are able to recognize the pattern of my time series data, and based on the pattern, we are forecasting the future values. Okay, as I mentioned about the forecasting, and in this module, we will be able to cover the time series pattern. It is very crucial to be able to recognize the time series pattern using diagnostic charts. And then based on the pattern, we're able to predict the future value. And of course, you want to know how well my prediction is, right? To understand how well your prediction, we need to learn how can we measure the accuracy of my forecast. So we are learning different kind of metrics that can be used to measure the accuracy. And then lastly, we're going to look at the moving average and exponential smoothing. So those are the two very popular time series model that allow us, based on the pattern we recognized, and then to building this model to forecast the future values. So in our next module, we are looking at the combination between the regression model and the time series. That's what I want to mention. Yes, the regression model still works for our time series model data. We still can use the regression model to do the forecasting for the time series data. Okay, as you can notice that I spent a lot of time talking about forecast. So that's what we are focusing on in this chapter, is about forecast. So generally speaking, we have two kind of methods you can use to do the forecast. So the first type is called a qualitative. The other one is called a quantitative. So for the qualitative methods, it involves use the expert judgment to develop a forecast when historical data on the variable being forecast is either unavailable or not applicable. So there are several reasons why the business want to use a qualitative method, right? As you can imagine, back to 20, 30, 40 years ago, we don't have strong computing power, that the data were not stored in an Excel spreadsheet. And it's very hard for the business owner or decision maker to make a judgment using the data. So they might start making a decision based on their own judgment, right? So that's one situation. So of course, you can see that situation may no longer exist, because nowadays it's very rare you said somebody don't have computer, and so everybody will have computer. So the second reason why people want to use a qualitative method is because that when you're launching a new product, you might not have any historical data to allow you to understand what is the demand look like, what is the historical price you should charge, historical price you charge that based on that to repricing your product, right? So therefore, in those situations, when you're launching a new product, you don't have historic data. So you might need to rely on your qualitative method to make a decision, to make a forecast. And also, even you have historical data, if the business situation changed, and although you have historical data, all those data are too old to allow you to make decision for the new situation. So in that situation, you also need to use the qualitative method. The second method, as I mentioned, called the quantitative method. So they are used when past information about the forecast variable is available. The information can be quantified, and the past may be assumed as prolonged. So basically, you are assuming what happened historically will be happen in the future. In those situations, we are considering using quantitative method. So in this module and next module, we were focusing on the quantitative method. Maybe in some business classes that is not quantitative focus, and you will be able to learn more about the qualitative method. Okay, and also for this module and also next module, we are not touched very deep in the forecasting because it will take the whole 16 weeks to learn what are the complete quantitative method you can use to do the time series data forecasting. So we were building a good foundation so that you are able to exploring further if you are able to take some advanced forecasting class, and so you will already have the knowledge you needed. Okay, so in our next video, as we emphasize that we need to learn the pattern of our time series data, we want to spend some time to learn, okay, what kind of pattern actually we are able to identify through our time series data using the diagnostic charts.